So, and I'm going to see how this actually works. I think I might be already online. Hello? Yes, here we are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Saturday Microscopy Livestream. Microbehunter here, all over here. And yes, hello all around the world. Today we have I'm super happy and excited, a slightly special episode because yeah, we'll be doing a live stream together. So it's the first time that I'm going to do a video conference, yeah, with Jess, and basically, yeah. We'll be having a look at a couple of interesting specimens as well. At the first couple of minutes, I always say hello around the world. So because people join in, hello from Lebanon, hello from Northern Germany, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, from London, from Greece. Sound and images are good. Okay, thank you very much. From Quebec, the UK. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to jump in directly, and I would like to, yeah, welcome Jess. And basically, we've got now a shared screen here, and I hope that this works out. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, so let me. Yeah, are you able to? Just a second. I don't know if they were able to hear you. Yeah, let me see, because I do not see this here. Let me quickly check. We have I should have checked this before. Unhide all. Yeah. Can you say something again? Yeah. Yeah. So can you say something again? I'm putting up all of the levels.
Testing.
I think now it should work. Now I've got an audio signal here. Okay. And maybe this works now. Okay. Is there an echo here? We get an echo now from okay. Then maybe right now. Can you say something again? Let's get the audio.
Something again.
Yeah, I hope that this works now. Now I switched off. Perfect. Great. Thank you very much. Yes, fixed. Good. I know the problem because I've got several audio levels here, and I simply switched off then the second one. And yeah, so here we are. And I'm super happy and excited that this works. Was a little bit technically a little bit fidgety at the beginning, but maybe we're able to get some exciting stuff covered today. Okay, so first of all, Jess, thank you very much that basically you join in today. Just a day before yesterday, we spent, I think, over 2 hours together online, and you showed me a lot of interesting slides. And yeah, and so maybe you can some totally exciting things, and also some 3D printed microscopy projects that. Yeah, that you've made.
Yes, there are some things coming.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you able to share maybe some of the projects that you've made?
Some of the projects in particular, sure. We can start with some of those.
So I'm still seeing. Yeah. Yes. Great. So we're now able. And what I'm going to do now is the following: I'm going to. I think I'm going to just make myself either a little bit smaller. Or just basically I'm going to really make myself tiny here, okay, so that I'm not in the way here. Okay, great. So I can actually see now your desk, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of exciting microscopy projects and slides and whatever, yeah, to share, yeah. And
this one in particular, it's just a very simple little case.
Yeah.
This is a prototype for a much larger case, and the way I've designed it is you can have up to 2.5 millimeter slides in this tray, or up to 5 millimeters in this one, and you can put them in any position. So this came up at the top before; it's now going in the bottom. This one's going at the top now, and the full size case should be able to store up to 100 2.5 millimeter slides and up to 50 5 millimeter slides. And the reason for that is I bought this slide off eBay, and
that's
incredibly thick.
Yeah. It's an incredibly thick slide. It's sand, right? Or
4 rams in clay.
4 rams. Okay, yes.
But yeah, comparing that to a normal slide, it's huge. So yeah, I had to do something about that because and I mean, I've got so many antique slides now that I've bought on eBay.
May I ask how many of them? How many did you buy? I mean, you just started the hobby a couple of months ago, I think you told me.
About a little over 6 months ago, I started. I mean, we've got a few slides in here, but then in terms of how many slides, I honestly don't know. We've got all these cases. There's a stack more over there. I've got slides all over the place. I try and pick them up as cheaply as possible. Not always successful, but yeah.
Okay, and now basically you've designed, or this is a prototype, as you said, for a 3D printed slide box, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. The only issue I'm having is, as you can see with this right now, the handles are too close together because everything's so compact, so it's difficult to get in there and open it. So once I figure that issue out, then everything will be fine. But
Is there a reason why you want to store the slides horizontally instead of vertically, or is this just because you showed me the design, the as you planned, and you made it basically stored horizontally. Is there a reason for this, or is it just yeah?
So the main reasoning for that is there's 2 reasons. Sometimes you'll get slides that they're stored in liquid rather than
yes
mounted in a medium that goes solid. So you don't want it to sink over time. But also, I plan to do my own slides, and when I do that, I'm going to be using clear UV resin. So I'm going to be putting them under a UV lamp to cure them, and I want to store them flat whilst doing that. So I figure if I do it this way, I can put that under the lamp, it cures it. I can then take it out from under the lamp and put it straight into the case.
I see. Yes. No, because it does take, for example, when I'm using mounting medium, it does take sometimes several weeks to properly dry, and then of course you want to keep them stored horizontally. Yeah. Can you put because you also set it up? Can you put some of these some slides maybe under the microscope? Because a few days ago you showed me some really interesting ones that are quite unique.
So I've already got one under there that I didn't show you the other day.
This is really nice.
I wanted to, but I had to find it. Spicules of what my understanding is it's mixed spicules. One from sea cucumber, and the other from I'm not sure. It doesn't look quite like a sponge from what I found online. It looks almost like a coral. But it's obviously not a coral. Whatever it is, though, it's interesting. But yeah, these spicules look amazing. There's some that are very similar to that of Synapta, which is the largest, or at least longest sea cucumber in the world. Let's see if we can find one here.
So maybe we have to clarify this for those of you who those who don't know. If you have a sponge, so to say, a natural sponge, which is a marine animal, then they contain those hard parts, and these are the so-called spicules, right? And they have, as you can see here, quite different, varied shape and look quite nice.
Yeah, it basically makes up the skeleton of the sponge or cucumber. Whilst the sponge itself naturally is still soft, you can still use it as a sponge. It does have this microstructure inside. Can't find right now. I know there's a whole bunch of them in here. So the Synapta sea cucumbers, they have spicules on the surface of them that are shape of an anchor. And they actually stick to divers' wetsuits like Velcro.
Okay. Yep.
I'm just trying to find one of those particular spicules because I know there's a bunch of them in here. I've seen them several times. There's one right there. So,
yes, it looks like the central one. It looks like an anchor. Yes.
Yeah, and generally what you will have is you will have one of these anchors, and then that will be held down by one of these spicules. They kind of sit under these on the surface of the cucumber's skin.
I see. Okay, okay. May I ask which slide is that? Is this also an antique slide, or is this
Yeah, this is a antique slide. I no idea when it's from. As you know, most of these antique slides, they're not dated, which is very annoying. I know you feel the same way on that.
Yes, I know. It's a pity. I mean, I've kind of estimated the age of some of my antique slides because the manufacturer or the person who made it is the slide is branded, and a little bit of online research. And there is a website called Microscopy UK, and there was an interesting article there in a database of where you basically have a lot of the antique slide makers listed, and that's how I was able to estimate approximately the age. Ah, you're now in Darkfield?
I'm
top?
putting linear polarizing filters.
Ah, polarizing. Oh, polarizing. Okay.
By doing this, we get some very interesting colors out of them. I mean, I was surprised when it first arrived that it had colors to it already. I was expecting no colors.
Yes.
By doing it this way, you get a lot more, and turning them and flipping them around, get different effects. If I actually turn this one upside down completely, so it's now the wrong way, I've actually found that I can get some other interesting color effects out of it.
Look at this.
And I think it actually looks nicer overall.
Yes. So basically, is it correct that you flipped one of the filters around upside?
Yeah. So normally you should have them facing the same way for the extinction.
Yes.
But when you flip it this way, you never get full extinction, and I don't know the physics of it, but it's different, and I actually prefer this look.
Yes, and I think for those of folks who know a little bit about physics, I'm also not an expert here. I think this has to do because one side of the filter has a so-called a lambda fourth plate to it, which kind of converts the linear polarizing light into circular polarizing light. And this means, and that's the reason why there's a difference depending on which side is up and which side is down. So this has to do with the so-called the lambda fourth plate because it kind of shifts the wavelength by a quarter of a wavelength or something like that. Also not fully aware of the physics here, and this causes circular polarization, and this is how you can actually modify the colors as well. So Paul is asking here.
I just saw that. So this is the Urmex IS 1153 PLI. I managed to get an insanely cheap deal on eBay for it. Didn't go down perfectly. The seller did say that it was fully working and operational. It certainly wasn't. But after a lot of pain, I got it running. So yeah, I'm happy with it overall. For £250, it was still a good deal. But...
No, certainly. Certainly. Yeah. So that's essentially, also for the people who joined in, that's actually something where you also said is you also want to extract those spicules yourself. So you bought yourself a sponge and you want to...
Yeah, and some sea cucumber. Yeah, both. I bought sea cucumber I bought both of them on eBay. I found a cheap natural sea sponge that's meant for a baby, so it's very small. Didn't have to pay much for it because it's usually quite expensive. And I've been playing around with that using bleach. I first tried 12% hydrogen peroxide, didn't work at all. Even with a hot water bath, it didn't dissolve the tissue. It just bleached it. The bleach almost immediately started dissolving it. After only a few hours, it was a horrible goo, and a few hours more, that goo was gone, and it just left grainy-looking stuff dark in the bottom. And yesterday, I tried putting it under the scope. Unfortunately, doesn't seem to be any spicules. I think maybe the bleach was too aggressive for too long at the beginning and it dissolved them. I don't really know. So I'm going to try some experiments. I'm going to get a tissue well dish and I'm going to run the same experiment, but I'm going to change the percentage of bleach that's in there, run them for different amounts of time and see if I can extract spicules from it or not.
Yeah, we've also been talking already before because maybe this was maybe the concern because the sponge is used for cleaning for babies and so on, that it might have already been treated by the company and that they might have already removed some of them before. I guess we don't know. Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
hopefully not.
yeah.
The eBay listing actually says that you need to thoroughly rinse it beforehand because there might be sediment from the bottom of the sea still in there. So that's the reason I went for this one. I'm hoping that it hasn't been processed in any way
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
the factory, but it's still possible. Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I wonder if there's another comment. I wonder if aggressive agitation is enough. So basically, if we take the sponge and kind of really aggressively try to wash out whatever spicules are in there, if that is enough. Yeah, we'd have to try out, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to assume not, simply because I've read quite a few papers online now of how they usually do it in a lab to get the spicules out, and generally they all talk about using something to remove the tissue.
Okay. So,
Some of the methods, if you leave it for too long, it will damage the spicules.
so
Some of them it doesn't. The best one uses hot nitric acid. It's acid boil.
okay,
Like
okay.
that's too dangerous for home. I'm not even going to attempt that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess they must be quite anchored as well. Yeah, yeah. The spicules, there's a suggestion of vinegar. Spicules are they made of calcium carbonate? Well, if they are, then I probably would not use any acid to isolate them because any acid would, as a matter of fact, react with the calcium carbonate and would actually dissolve it. So that's why. Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah. Also, I don't believe vinegar would work anyway because we use those to clean sponges already, and it doesn't destroy the sponge itself, the actual flesh.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, you've got a couple of other really cool slides as well, which I say, wow, they are really interesting. Which I know that they have existed, but I've never seen them before. Do you have some of those slides with the microscopic pictures on them and the prints?
Yes, one moment. I will grab those.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning for those tonight, but that's fine.
No, but this was really, I really like those as well, because back in the day, in the Victorian time, yeah, what I heard is quite a few people actually had microscopes at home, and also as a curiosity. I even read somewhere that the father of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, his Leopold Mozart, he was a musician at that time, and apparently in his legacy there was also a microscope. So a lot of people at that time actually, had microscopes, and at that time they also made some interesting slides with even microscopic print on it. It must have been a little bit later than that because this was when photography was invented. Yeah, and so what they've done is they've printed text and pictures onto the slide, and you can only look. You needed a microscope to be able to see that. It's a little bit like microfilm or microfiche. Yeah, yeah,
So you can see there's a little dot on there.
yeah, yeah. What does it say here?
This one,
Laying down the law.
laying down the law. Yeah. So as I put this under the scope, everyone in the chat, put in your guesses as to what this micro photograph is actually of, with a title like "Laying Down the Law." Any art students might know because it is a painting. But
Haha, somebody knows what it is.
Cass, hello. That's my friend from the US.
Yeah, it's like a microfiche. Yes, that's yeah.
So, kind of and kind of not. This was before film was even invented. Film wouldn't be invented for about another 5 years. At least for the ones that I have here. These are from James Benjamin Dancer. Was it John Benjamin Dancer? I forget. It's either James or John. There's several dancers out there. But yeah, the way they were doing it, when he first tried it, he tried it as a daguerreotype or something like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Daguerreotype, I think it is. And that was silver plates, and that didn't work because it couldn't make it thin enough to be able to view under the microscope. But then shortly after, they got silvering of glass. These were the old plate type photographs where you would take a thick glass plate, put it in the back of one of these boxes. And I just realized I didn't switch over to the microscope view.
No, not yet.
Hi. I pressed the button, but apparently I missed it.
Here we go. Now we can see it, right?
There we go. But yeah, they started doing the glass plates, and Benjamin Dancer, what he did is he built his own microscope because his father was an optician and also designed microscopes. He built it backwards to make an image smaller instead of bigger. He then took a cover glass, silvered the surface of the cover glass, and then exposed it to the image from the microscope to make a teeny tiny photograph. And he started producing a lot of these and selling them, and they're all numbered in index.
This is basically fascinating. So in other words, just to make this clear, he converted a cover glass actually into a film, so to say, by coating the cover glass with light sensitive material, if I understand this correctly.
Yes, exactly. And it's silver particles in a liquid that, to my understanding, when exposed to light, will oxidize. Works in the same way as film. It was just before film. It had to be done on glass.
That's interesting, yeah.
And he was doing it right as the technology was becoming a thing. So yeah, it wasn't long after, as I say, it was probably about 5 years or so after that film became a thing. But yeah, this is before film, and the resolution on these micro photographs is just astounding. I was really lucky with this one because it's a broken slide that has been remounted onto another slide to keep it together.
Yeah,
I got it for just £5.
Yes. So there's a question here. I don't understand. Sorry. So I'll try to explain this. It's like this. Of course, one could. I mean, this is from the time of analog photography. Of course, theoretically, you could take a picture on an analog film, like a slide film, and then cut it out using scissors and then put it on the microscope slide. That's of course possible, but this picture is different. Whoever made it converted a cover glass directly into a film. So he coated the cover glass with light sensitive material so that the image is now directly on the cover glass itself. Right, so this is, I think, a very unique form of early type of photography here. Right, so it's really nice because it's simply that the method is quite different. Yeah, so that's all a nice one here.
There was only a handful of people that I found that were actually making these micro photographs, although they were very popular at the time, but of course very expensive. From what I found, most of these micro photographs were being passed around the people higher up in, how do you say, the pay bracket, the fancier toffs as such. And a lot of them would carry around these little miniature microscopes, essentially, pocket microscopes. Some of them were very intricate and would fold up, others were telescopic. Some of them were designed into little lockets in a necklace. And they had a little lens fitted to them that when you opened them up, you could look through the lens and you'd see a microphotograph in there. And there's all kinds of different designs of them. Some of them are very expensive to try and buy now.
Just a little side issue here that I just want to comment on. What we're looking at here are now micro photographs, which are microscopic photographs. And there's also something called photomicrographs. And a photomicrograph is basically a picture of pretty much anything that was taken using a microscope. So if you've got, I don't know, some beautiful crystals or cells or whatever, and you take a picture of it, then it's called a photomicrograph. And this here is a real micro photograph, because it's an actual picture which is microscopically small. Yeah. And
I actually have some photomicrographs of micro photographs. So.
Yes.
I'm trying to show how small these actually are.
Wow.
They're about 2 millimeters in length generally.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of them
yeah.
are slightly bigger, some of them are slightly smaller. So I'll put this one in the scope now. Make sure I actually change over to the scope this time. This one's called Refreshment.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Ah, horse. Mhm.
yeah, and we got a couple of doggos there, and I like in the background there's a cute little goat.
Wow.
But I can't tell you how many of these micro photographs I have. I really don't know. It's my two main subjects that I tend to try and buy on eBay
Hmm.
is micro photographs and diatoms, but
Yes.
spicules as well. When I see a spicule, I try and get it, but they tend to go for more usually.
Hmm.
I was very lucky to get that amazing one that I showed at the beginning there.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But,
Do you buy them over eBay or by auctioning, or basically are they already? Do they have them? How do you say
almost
that?
all of them I've bid on, but
Okay.
there's been a couple that have been buy it now.
Okay.
But usually I'm bidding on them.
Yeah.
A lot of the buy it now ones, in fact, almost all of the buy it now ones, uh, they're usually much higher priced, and I would not say worth the price,
Okay. Okay.
considering how much they usually go for at auction.
Ah, who's this?
Good question. What does it say on the slide? Felix of Prussia.
Felix of Prussia. Okay. A little bit of history
Again, the
here.
resolution is. Yeah, if we
This is really.
zoom in a
Look at
bit
this.
more,
Look at this. This is incredible. You can barely
then-
see the crystals even at this.
yeah, look, like the resolution on his medals is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Go even higher, and let's see at what point we see the. So yeah, it's getting quite grainy now, but even then, you can still clearly see the pattern.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
amazing considering how old these are that they were able to get such great resolution at that time. Yeah, what I plan to do myself, I bought a old but still decent. I mean, it's digital film camera,
Okay. Yes.
and I'm planning to attempt to make some of these myself. And I'm hoping that with today's film, high speed 5 ISO grain film, that we should technically, I assume, be able to get higher resolution in a smaller space.
Oh, cool. Yes. Yes. Ah, somebody's ancestor. Who did you say? Felix of Prussia. You said.
Ah, lol. Didn't see that one, Kevin. But yeah. Well, I own him now. He's mine.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking for. Oh, this one says extract from Dickens' readings. Master Humphrey's Clock, Death of Little Nell. Let's have a look at this one. So this is a text block on this one, which also seems to be a fairly common thing with these micro photograph slides,
yes.
where they print text on it instead. Although I would say the photographs themselves are definitely more common than text.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I've got a couple of these. I've got one which is a funny old poem about a guy being shipwrecked. He's found on a rock, tells his tale, and turns out in the end that he was the ship's cook of the previous ship that crashed there, and they all became cannibals and ate each other, and he's the last one standing. That was quite a fun one to read when I first received it.
But this one over here seems to be this one is not directly on the cover glass. This one is a film, or are you able to see that?
Yeah, this one does look. There's a few of them that have this square.
Okay, yeah, because it almost looks like there's a, how do you say, yeah, it's cut out the center. Yeah.
Yeah, with how old they are, though, I still assume that it's not film.
Okay.
What I assume they've done here is they've actually taken another thin piece of glass done it on that, then put that under a cover glass and mounted it, because it's before film, so there must be an alternative way that they did it, and that's my assumption.
Yeah.
From what I found in the history of, especially this guy Dancer who's doing them, the only methods that are described this early are by silvering glass manually.
Okay, I got it. Okay. There's an interesting question here from Marie. Would they have used this method for sending secret documents?
Not this early, but they did later. They're called microdots. Those were done on film and microfiche, especially during the First and even more so the Second World War. Almost every unit that was in important enemy territories, they would have somebody there that was specialized in hiding these tiny little black dots and sending them back and forth.
Okay.
And they would have these really compact units that were designed in a special way to very easily take a microphotograph in the field, or I should say make a microphotograph in the field of some text, make it really small, print it out very quickly, or well, I say print it out.
Develop it, yeah.
Yeah, they would have to develop the actual film, get developed quickly, put it out of the piece of film, stick it somewhere and send it off.
Okay.
And on the flip side, the same unit would also be able to magnify them. There are several good videos online about this. Not many. There isn't a lot, but there's several good ones, and they're very easy to find on YouTube. Just search up microdot.
Yeah, yeah. Are you able to focus it a little bit differently, or is this the
Unfortunately, yeah, this one isn't as sharp as the others.
Okay.
Some of them aren't as good. You can see there. If I zoom
yeah,
in,
okay.
This one. I would have thought, if this wasn't labeled, I would have thought this would have been an earlier one, but it's actually a later one. This is indexed at over 200 or something, whereas the ones we were looking at earlier were pre-100 index numbers. So.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean with index? They all have some kind of a serial number, or?
Yeah. So this guy, every time he made a slide, on the label, it's got a little index number here.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. So this is 41 refreshment. That was the one with the horse and the doggos.
Okay.
So yeah, I was surprised when I received this one with it being so late in the index numbers that it's actually much worse quality, but then again, it's very small text. I have, let's see if I can find the poem one real quick, because the poem one is much better resolution. Actually, here is another text one. Extract from Dickens' readings, A Christmas Carol, Bob Cratchit's Dinner, number 249. Let's stick that one under. The resolution is like.
There is also the question if a polarized light would make a difference. I don't know.
Unlikely. I'll try it.
Unlikely, yeah. Because the silver crystals, I don't know if they're not, yeah.
So this is better resolution. The slide is quite dirty, it seems. I need to find a way to safely clean these slides at some point. Let's the polarizers under there. Well, I can already see it's not making a difference to the text.
Yeah. Yes. So that's basically it's been a request to try a polarized light, but it won't make a difference. Yeah.
I tried the polarizers on a lot of things. Text is it's the first time I tried it under text, and as expected, unfortunately, no difference. But yeah, you can see with this one, whilst I would say the background's grainier, the text is a lot sharper. And again, this is one of those ones with the borders.
Yeah. Yes.
Have a look at it by eye. Yeah. So looking at it by eye, I'd still say it's almost certainly not on film.
Okay. I mean, what I heard is that it's actually one of the good things about using photography for storing documents is that also film, for example, or microfiche, that apparently it has got a very, if stored properly, a very long-term viability. Yeah? So,
Yes.
so essentially, it's very stable. Chemically, apparently very stable. So what I heard is that some even some governments, what they do is they put all of the important documents in analog form on microfiche, because they can store it this way, yeah, for hundreds of years, maybe even. Yeah.
And on top of that, the actual data density is just huge.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
A lot of libraries, big libraries, usually ones with large archives, and they will have an area at the back where you can look up old documents that have been archived, and they're not books. They've all been converted to microfiche because they can just store so much more so easily.
Yeah, there's a question here. I wonder how one would go about making one of these today as a hobbyist. I've been considering, I mean, a long time ago, I've been developing film myself. And one of the ways that you could do that is you could simply take a slide film or a negative film and take a picture, a photograph using a camera of whatever document you want to have. Yeah. And then if you adjust the size, then you have it quite small on film. And then you cut out the film and you simply mount it on a microscope slide. That would be probably the easiest way. But again, those many of these samples here, the technique was quite different because it's actually the cover glass itself that carries the image, you know, and that's what I consider quite remarkable, because it's actually a little bit of technological history what we're looking at here.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. In terms of doing the modern way and using film, that's what I'm planning to do at some point. I would, once I've got it down and I've done it with black and white, my plan is to at some point attempt the color one, because that's something I've never seen. I have not found any color ones anywhere online. Somebody asked earlier, who was it? Stated clearly, Jess, what's your favorite diatom slide? That is a very good question. I honestly don't know yet.
I've been looking around because back in the day they used to make so-called arranged diatom slides, where they actually arranged the diatoms in beautiful patterns, circles.
And they're incredibly expensive.
Yeah, yes. And this was a huge, painstaking labor to arrange the individual diatoms. What I read somewhere in the book is that they actually used eyelashes and hair, because they're quite pointed to actually pick up the individual diatoms under the microscope and to place them. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen several of those, and I've bid on a couple of them, but by the very end of the bidding war, they always shoot up, and several of them have gone for over £500.
500 pounds. Yep. 500 pounds.
One of them.
One slide.
Yeah, one of them went for almost £1,000, and that one, what they'd done is they'd arranged them in a grid, but before putting them onto this grid, they'd actually used the same, or what seems to be the same method of doing a micro photograph, to instead draw a grid on the actual slide and label them and then place them in that grid. And that one went for a lot of money. So.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But, this is one of my favorite slides, simply because of this spiky little fella in the center here. Let me get rid of the marker. There we go. Usually the more interesting ones are harder to get, so I was quite happy to get this one, because the slide itself is not of great quality, but being able to get this, and in particular this one has a very clean structure on it.
Oh wow! Yes.
So this is definitely one of my favorite diatom slides.
Could you try this also with polarized light?
Yes, I will. I have tried it before, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. I haven't tried it with this specific slide.
Okay.
I will
because sometimes it's enough if it simply depolarizes the light. And
yeah.
But okay.
So that's the first one under, and now second one. Gotta refocus.
Yeah, otherwise, one would have to try to work with dark field or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Nope,
doesn't
nothing. Okay, but
do anything.
thanks for trying.
Of course. It was one of the first things I tried when I got the polarizing filters was having
Yeah.
a look at a diatom under it, and yeah, it doesn't do much at all.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another
But
question. How can we coat a cover glass and with what? Well, that is basically that's chemistry. It's light sensitive, some kind of a light sensitive silver compound, and yeah, and when light strikes it, then it will actually form a crystallization seed, and then there's a reaction when you develop it where then it's converted to metallic silver, and that gives you the black color of the photograph. But I think that is beyond that what most hobbyists would probably do.
yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want to search it up online, just look up film silvering.
Film silvering, yes.
Yeah, that's the query research that you want, because that'll give you almost all the details. I'm sure there'll be a very detailed wiki on everything that you need.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Another interesting thing on this particular slide, something I haven't seen elsewhere, are these diatoms, which have little structures sticking out from them.
Yes.
That look like little mushrooms. It's
yes.
the first form of a diatom that I've seen with any external structure that sticks out.
Oh, interesting.
I have not yet actually identified them. At some point, I will look them up probably, but so far I have not yet. But there was another one of those on here somewhere, I think, or it might have been in fact, this one also it's got little structures sticking out.
Yeah, it's exactly there where there's this gap. This appears to be like a hole over there. Yeah.
It's a UFO.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So these diatoms, those
circular,
those round diatoms usually are marine diatoms, if I'm correctly informed. So
my understanding is almost all of these interestingly shaped ones are marine. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen of the freshwater ones, they all seem to be very boring. You don't seem to find round ones and triangular ones.
Yes.
Always rectangular. Either rectangular or what's the like cylindrical with a closed end, ellipsoid. But yeah, I think all of these are marine.
Fantastic.
This one is definitely marine based. The one that looks like a fold in the middle. I've forgotten the name of them. There's a whole bunch of those that I've seen. This one with the color in the middle, I don't know if that's a contaminant or what. I assume it is.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of these ones show up on eBay all the time. These big dark ones that don't interest me as much. I mean, they're okay.
Yeah.
But,
do you think that this is somehow is it on a quotation mark a random sample where they just sprinkled some diatoms on the slide, or do you think that these are also kind of pre-selected because they seem to be all intact?
Yeah, I was going to say almost certainly. It's hard to say. I mean, the label itself, it just says group of 12 diatoms, is it? 21 diatoms. Apparently, there's a group of 21 on this little slide. I would assume they're selected. It's somebody who's making a collection, and they've just made a slide where they've taken a bunch of the different items that they have to hand and stuck them on. Because from the process that I've looked up of actually getting diatoms, I'd be very surprised if anyone found any location where you find all of these items in a single drop.
Yes. Because they're so diverse. Yeah. There's a question: what's the best way to collect marine diatoms? I'll be in Florida next month. I mean, they're denser than water, so I guess they collect in sand, I guess. But maybe you have some take on this issue, on this question.
Yeah. If you want to find dead ones already, like this, ready to go straight onto a slide, then sand is your best bet, but you're not going to find them on the dry sand. You'd have to go into the water bit, and even then, I'm not sure. all of the papers that talk about collecting them and preparing them for slides say to get it directly off of the rock whilst it's still alive.
Okay.
And that is any rock pool. You go into the rock pool, you find a rock that's had sunlight, it'll have a kind of biofilm on the surface of it. It's a brown, slippery looking substance, not green. Green is going to be a form of algae rather than diatoms. Diatoms tend to be brown rather than green. And when you take this brown sludge, they all actually talk about using a toothbrush. So you take a rock, you put it in a shallow dish, you scrub it with a toothbrush, get all of this film off, try and clean the rock completely on the top surface. You don't want the bottom surface. And then you just take that, put it under the microscope, and you find the diatoms in there. To prepare them for a slide, though, is a whole other process to remove all
Yeah, I might want to add something here. If you want to prepare diatom shells, the frustrules for microscopy from a live sample, so to say. If you go back a little bit in a couple of weeks ago, I actually did, I think, also a live stream on that. You have to treat it with a concentrated, fairly concentrated hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. Got to be super careful. It's very aggressive. But what the hydrogen peroxide will do? Wow, they're beautiful here. What the hydrogen peroxide will do, it will remove any organic material from the sample, and the diatoms, which are made of silica, the shells will not be affected by the hydrogen peroxide. So that's actually a way of concentrating them. So you add hydrogen peroxide and you basically make it warm in a warm water bath. And this will then, the diatoms will then settle down in the tube, in the test tube, and then you can wash it. You want to remove all of the hydrogen peroxide. You don't want to get this on your fingers or on your microscope. So that's important that you remove the hydrogen peroxide again, and then you have more or less concentrated diatoms. I think the difficulty that I had extracting those is if you go into the sand. Then there are going to be way more sand grains there than there will be diatoms. So,
exactly. And often damage the diatoms.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yes. Yeah. These are really nice.
Yeah, this one's a very clean slide. I easily the cleanest samples I've got yet.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly one of the triangle ones. I very much like the ones that have this honeycomb like pattern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I constantly read online about diatoms being the go-to for checking the resolution of your scope by getting the ones with the really fine little ridges on them. And yeah, some of them that I've seen online are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
These are the best that I've had so far.
These are really nice. No, that's definitely just by looking at the arrangement, it's definitely an arranged slide.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I mean, this one actually has it's twice ringed. So this little red ring tells you where the specimen is on the slide because it's so small. And then you got the actual outer ring that's sealing it all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there's quite a few of these in my collection where they've got this extra ring to say, hey, you want to look in this area here because they're so tiny, it'll take forever to find them.
How did they make it? I have to ask, how in the world did they make the red ring?
My assumption is the same way as you make a normal ring, just with a much finer brush.
Extremely fine brush, yeah.
Yeah, that's my assumption. I honestly have no idea what's coming next because I forget. I've got so many slides at this point. Not all of them are particularly great, but what's on? There's the ring.
There's the ring again, yeah.
So some Helioptera, I believe these ones are called, if I remember correctly. There's the little helicopter propeller-like look to them. But these ones don't interest me as much. They're fine. were all right, and they look like little flowers
They were
almost.
really, yeah, patterns of nature. Really,
Yeah,
it's
but
beautiful.
I definitely prefer the ones with the honeycomb patterns
Yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Those are probably my favorite ones. And the spiky ninja star one that we saw earlier on that first.
Yes.
We've got one more in this set. These are all from the same person. So
Here is another one. Yeah.
another bunch of those round ones. Again, the person who prepared these ones doing an absolutely amazing job of it, because the actual clarity on these slides is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wonder how in the world did whoever made them make sure that they do not move around when you put mounting medium on top of it. So he or she must
So-
have actually glued them down on the slide first before adding the mounting medium on top. Or yeah.
The way I've read to do it, the proper way, if you want to mount them permanently like this, is rather than the initial observations being done on a slide, instead you do it on a cover glass. You observe them on the cover glass, you place them however you want, and then you heat fix them. And then once you've done that, you just put your blob of mountain medium onto the slide, then you stick your cover glass on there.
So sorry, did you say this correct? Did I hear you correctly? They heat fix them?
That's my understanding. Is
Interesting. Really? That this actually also works. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's just whatever liquid you're observing them in, you basically want to get to evaporate quickly. They'll stick to the slide, and then you can mount them easily.
Okay. Uh-huh.
It's also, I've noticed, so there's a bunch of these ones that are arranged in a near perfect circle. I think those ones, they must have cheated somehow. I don't think it's done manually. It might be.
Oh.
It might very well have been done manually with the eyelash method. It just seems too perfectly circular, though. So I have a feeling they've cheated in some way. Maybe they've used an extra thin circular piece of glass and just done it onto that and then stuck that down. Maybe they had some kind of what would you call it, a frame essentially that goes around to get perfect. But maybe they did do it manually. If they did, though, if I tried to do that, I'd go insane.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Some of these circular samples like this have over 100 samples per slide, and then you'll have multiple of these from the same person. I could not imagine sitting there for weeks on end.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, and without micro manipulator these days, I mean, at least you can get some. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have at least tools where you're able to position whatever object quite finely. But this is.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I showed you this one the other night. I'll show this on stream as well. Back to micro photographs real quick. Because this one is interesting in the fact that it's been mounted differently. I don't know whether it was maybe damaged at some point, so they've actually cut the previous slide that it was on and remounted it to try and save it. But this is on a really thick piece that's almost as thick as the slide itself.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's mounted on there.
Oh, okay. Yes.
They still ringed it and everything. So, but at the same time, even though they've mounted it this way, as you'll see when I put it into the scope here, it's still got incredibly good clarity on there and great resolution.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the one that you've also shown me. That's
yeah.
That's the cover of a magazine. Yeah.
I quite like this one because if we zoom in, you've got all these little, whatever these characters are, dancing around, and you've got them all the way around here. Like little pixies almost, whatever they are, and some of them are in some very strange and amusing poses.
The style reminds me a little bit of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Is it some kind of a? I think it's some kind of a wood carving print or something like that. Yeah, could that
At the
be?
bottom here, yeah, that's what that looks like. Reproduced by special something. Let's zoom in on that text at the bottom because I've never actually noticed that text before. Let's see, where we going down here? Reproduced by special
permission or
could be permission of the proprietors of Pinch. Whatever Pinch is. Oh, Punch.
Punch. That's the name
Punch
of
magazine. Yeah. Okay.
So they got special permission.
Yeah. I like that they've actually put that on there. But that just goes to show the insane resolution.
Can you zoom in on the small text on the side on the right side? There's this text that's printed.
Right side. So we want to turn it this way.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's upside down.
So let's see. Yearly subscription, including the
almanac. I don't know.
No idea.
Almanac, maybe.
Something inland postage. 15 whatever
cents?
Currencies.
Well,
could be cents, yeah.
Foreign, whatever.
Foreign postage is
interesting.
Another value.
Agents for Canada, agents for the United States.
The International News Co. New York.
There's a date even here.
Toronto News Co. and the Montreal News Co. Entered as second
class mail monitor. And the New York Post Office, 18 or 1909 or 08, I don't know.
Not going to get a good view with this one. 18 or something by the looks of it. Could be 19 still.
Yeah.
But, this scope, the higher magnification lenses, I need to figure out how to fully open them and clean the lenses fully because whoever had it previously somehow managed to get a thick grease into the back of all of the lenses, and it was like Vaseline. I have no idea who did what to this thing. Maybe they were upset with the microscope and wanted to punish it. I don't know. But I have not managed to get the black rings off the back of them yet. They are very solidly screwed in there. But I'm going to 3D design and 3D print a custom tool to try and get them out safely so that I can take them apart with my, what do you call it? It's a lens wrench for unscrewing. It's meant for camera lenses, but it works on these from what I've read online. And I'm going to take all the elements out, soak them in hydrogen peroxide, fully clean them up, put them all back in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pain, but it'll get the clarity back, hopefully.
Micro Addict just wrote, someone printed a novelty Bible a few decades ago that you needed a microscope to read. It's all on a card, not a microfiche. As a matter of fact, somebody actually sent that to me. I've got it.
Oh.
It's a tiny, but the print is so small. Thank you. The print is so small that it's not, that you need actually a material sciences microscope. So basically you need to have the light coming from the top, right? And with a stereo microscope, it's not able to resolve the letters sufficiently. So you might need a very high magnification microscope with top illumination, or even maybe an electron microscope. But it's really extremely small print. I think it's somehow etched into silicium. It's like a tiny wafer Yeah. So
Nice. Here's a question with that one, with what you just mentioned. Would an electron microscope even see it?
I would guess so, because I'm with my normal microscope. I'm able to see that the individual lines I'm able to see, but not the individual letters. Could also be a contrasting question. Because because there is no color contrast. It's simply etched into the I think the silicium wafer, right? So for this reason, you need actually light. And if I go up with the magnification, then I won't be able to actually shine a light onto the whole thing, because the objective actually would cast a shadow. But I could have a
My
look.
understanding with SEM, though, is you've got to put a metallic layer onto the subject to be able to see it.
Yes,
And
yes,
if
yes.
it's printed, will it actually make a difference in the height of that first layer?
Yeah, no, it is 3D. It is somehow etched into.
Okay.
It's etched in, so this means it's not. It's not
It's not printed.
It's not printed using color, but it's actually physically etched. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
But that means also that there is not enough color contrast to properly see it. Yeah. Yeah.
That would definitely be an interesting one to
And
see.
with the zoom stereo, as there was just asked, it basically I was not able to resolve it properly. I just was able to see that there was something there, but not sufficient clarity. But I might simply try it again. I have not tried it now for a couple of months, so maybe I'm able to fine tune it a little bit, the system, and maybe with a lot of light from the side. Maybe, that's possible. Yeah. What's this here?
Another diatom.
Okay.
I have no idea what type. It's a very strange looking one, and the striations on it, none of them are straight, not a single one. They all seem to be. It looks almost like when you put iron filings on top of a magnet. The way it's showing the kind of swirls. Just trying to find more interesting diatom ones in particular, because I've got so many. There's one set where I have a whole bunch of diatoms all in one case. Unfortunately, the majority of them are not very nice samples. I bought them from one guy on eBay. In fact, actually, saying that, there is one set in there that was good in particular. Where is it? Okay, it's in one of these cases. I've got so many cases all over the place.
There was also a question over here: is if how those images or the text, how it would look like in a stereo microscope.
So my guess is it would look pretty much the same, just
Okay. Yeah.
probably not as clear.
Oh, I just received a donation here. I would like to say thank you very much again. I'm using the donations also to my microscope slides. As a matter of fact, I just recently, not antique ones, but I ordered myself a box of medical slides. Wow, nice diatoms here as well, right? And those medical slides, I still have to study them a little bit, because I know too little about histopathology to make sense of what we're actually able to see here. But thank you very much. The donations will be used, for the channel. Yeah.
Since this particular stream, it's mostly been my scope here, I should get 80% of that.
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. But okay, I think hopefully this is the right slide that I was looking for. Let's find out. Yes. So this one is very clear again, which I find interesting, because most of the ones from this guy, what's that? That's some junk.
No, it's
that last one that I just put on for a moment that I was looking for, this one is very messy. It's just a random droplet, it seems. But it's from the same set. It's got the same labeling. It's got all the same handwriting on them. So I was surprised when going through all these to actually find some that are decent, because most of them look like that last one, very messy.
Okay, yes.
And yeah, we've
Oh,
got some of
beautiful.
these
Yeah.
nice ones on here.
Any dust or any specks seem to be on the surface of the slide, because when you focus onto the diatoms themselves, they look quite cleanly mounted. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can easily clean these slides like this one. There's quite a few of them that have what look to be oil or
Yeah.
grease on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
surface
Yeah.
of them.
But see, when they're in focus, yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty clean.
very
So
clear.
it's must be on the surface. Yeah.
That's
But
my
yeah,
assumption.
but the question, I mean, I'm a little bit yeah, with cleaning those slides. It's one has to be careful, of course, not to apply too much pressure on the cover glass and all these things. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I worry more about what's safe to use with whatever material has been used to ring them.
yes, otherwise, yeah, the solvent.
Because yeah, usually what I would use, especially for something greasy, is I use alcohol. But then there's the risk of damaging
The ring, yes.
the ringing material. But if it is, which I understand from reading online, they all used, if it is bitumen, then it shouldn't cause a problem. It would if you soaked it for a long period of time, but my understanding is it's pretty resistant to alcohol, so it takes
Okay.
a while to do anything.
I'd be also concerned about the label itself, the slide label itself, because you don't want to get any solvent or anything on that as well on the paper label. Yeah.
That's a true point. Never even thought about that.
Because that's at least as important as the specimen itself.
Yes, it is. Something that I'm planning to do. I've got a microphoto somewhere here. I bought from one guy. I managed to get about 5 or 6 microphotos from him at a very good price, and I made a deal with him to buy them as a lot. And when making this deal, in the haggling, he threw in an extra slide that he hadn't listed.
Okay.
And he said, I'll throw in this extra slide. It's not of good quality. The quality is so bad that I didn't even bother to list it, but you can have it for free. I was like, okay, sure. It arrived, I put it into the scope, and I know exactly what it means. It is abysmal. It looks not only bad resolution to begin with, but it looks like it's been badly damaged somehow.
Okay.
So what I decided is, since I have that, I'm probably at some point going to destroy it entirely. Hopefully not, but I want to attempt to safely remove the cover glass and rescue the slide and remount it. Use it as a test subject, because if I can successfully do that, then these other ones that I've got that are on broken slides, I can remount those safely.
Yes. Now, I've also heard that indeed people have remounted slides before. So that is something that has been done before already. Yeah, especially if you have got some rare specimens. But yeah, it's a question of the solvent, I would say. You need some kind of, and you need to soak it for a sufficiently long time that you give it time for the, for it to
So
separate.
the problem I see with it, I've already done this myself with UV resin.
Okay.
I actually ran a test. I put a cat flea on a slide, put clear UV resin on, put the cover glass on, cured it, and let it cure under the UV lamp for extra time just to make sure, left it for a few weeks, and then tried to remove it safely. And I managed to. I put it in a jar with acetone for about 3 or 4 days, and then I went to remove it, and it didn't remove, but the edges had softened up enough that I could put a little scratch around each edge. Then I let it soak for another few days, and then when I came back to it, it just popped straight off.
Oh, okay.
I was actually quite surprised.
Yes.
And that's with UV curing resin that it works so well. So I think with these, it is entirely possible. But then the other question is not only how do you get the mountant off, but the solvent that you use to get the mountant off, is that going to in some way damage the specimen? That's what I'm very worried about with the micro photographs in particular. Because I found articles talking about certain specimens remounting them, but I've not found a single one talking about what these solvents might do.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if the silvering is on the. It depends now if the silvering is actually on the cover glass. I don't know if what they used, if they also used gelatin, because normally on film you have some kind of on the plastic you have a layer of gelatin which contains the silver crystals. So indeed it could be that. I mean, having developed film a long time ago myself, I mean, this is a very sensitive layer. After all, if it becomes moist and wet, then it can be scratched easily. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's my worry with it. But as I say, I'm going to experiment at some point, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, at least I haven't destroyed something that was in good condition.
Yes. There's another comment of here transporting water samples. I came back from Kauai last night. I was hoping to bring back some water for analysis of Hawaiian microbes on the live stream, but the airport security was very strict about any liquids in the luggage. Yeah, I can talk about this not necessarily from the viewpoint of airport security, but simply. If you are on holiday, for example, and I took along some, I can show you over here. Yeah, basically those plastic tubes with water samples. Yeah, it's a question of what I've tried to do. Therefore, is I try to actually mount some of the slides directly in the hotel room, and simply, if you're spending there a couple of days, then I simply took my a couple of slides along and simply mounted it directly there, so that I do not have to carry the water samples along, because that's indeed a difficult thing to transport.
Yeah, what I would say, if you want to bring a live water sample back, my dad, what he used to do was he would collect live samples of all kinds of creatures, spiders, frogs, snakes, and he would bring them internationally back to England from the South Guyanese jungle. And he never had a problem. And the reason he never had a problem is because before every flight beforehand, he would always contact the airline he was flying with and make all the necessary arrangements well beforehand. You have to declare the things that you're bringing. You have to make sure you have all the papers in order. You can't just expect to get on a plane with any substance, any living thing, or any liquid that looks like it could be anything. But yeah, whether it's liquid or not, if you taking a living sample, contact the airline beforehand, make sure you've got all the papers in order for it. Certain things they might not allow you to take for reasons of invasive species or risk of stuff like that.
Exactly.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's a comment here. Biosecurity. That's the term here, because you don't want to transfer species from one area of the world to the other area.
But yeah, generally speaking, if you do everything the right way and talk with them the correct way and make sure you arrange beforehand, they're usually very helpful and will get everything sorted. So even if you can't bring that specific specimen home, you might be able to bring something else home. So. My cousin, she recently went to the volcanic islands of Stromboli. She travels the world. She's going all over the place all the time. And since I got into microscopy, I asked her whenever she goes somewhere to try wherever possible to bring me back a small sample of sand from wherever she's been and a small sample of moss wherever she's allowed to. She didn't. I told her to check beforehand. She didn't bother to check, but she brought it anyway. So I'm not sure of the legalities of this sample I have. But right here.
Yeah, I would say Italy, you got to be careful.
Exactly, that's what I was saying to her. But yeah, she brought back a sample of black sand.
I know that in some places of Italy, they are pretty sensitive about collecting samples and sand. Having said that, some newspaper articles, some tourists there really collected huge sand samples. I mean, yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's certainly a question of quantity as well.
To be fair, she brought more than this. This is just
Yeah.
a small sample that I put in. But
Yeah.
in terms of my 50 mil centrifuge tubes, this is just a 5 mil one. I
Yeah.
filled 1.5 of those, so it was a lot. I pointed out to her after. I was like, it only needs to be the smallest amount. No more than 5 mils is needed for
Yeah.
this. But don't get me wrong. I appreciate it entirely, but I'm like, you really need to check.
Mm-hmm.
When you do this in the future for me, check beforehand. I don't want you getting in trouble with any border control.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Fines for taking these samples. But yeah.
Yeah. So liquids, as mentioned, is obviously always an issue, especially if you go traveling in the airport. But yeah, biosecurity and biosafety. I know some countries are very strict about that because they're kind of worried about invasive species and so forth. So yeah, especially if you want to work with the specimens officially for scientific research and so on, it's got to be all publicly declared. Yeah. So.
But yeah, well, a point that we were making earlier with the diatoms, where, as I say, I believe the majority of the diatoms we've just looked at are marine ones because of how interesting they look. The river ones seem to be very boring. Tardigrades, water bears, moss piglets, however you want to name them, they seem to be quite similar in this regard. All of the ones that I've seen of freshwater seem to be very similar, very much the same, very uninteresting in terms of their shape and body surface. Whereas the marine ones seem to be a lot more interesting. Some of them look like crazy Pokemon kind of creatures.
Where did you find the marine tardigrades? How would you?
I haven't found any yet.
Okay.
My plan is to look for some, but from what I've looked up online, all of the marine ones are a lot more interesting. Now, the one species that I found myself in the moss in my backyard, they're more interesting, and I have not found them anywhere else online. All that is so interesting about them is they have these long, sticky hairs on them. It's very annoying because it makes them incredibly hard to keep for more than a few days because they seem to produce this goo. It looks like micro frog spawn almost. It builds up over time, and with a normal tardigrade, you can easily clean them. With these ones, because of these sticky hairs, it sticks to them. They end up getting stuck upside down because the hairs are weighed down, and they just build it up over time, and you can't wash them. I tried for over an hour to wash a tardigrade.
Okay. Yes.
Rinsing it with water and carefully using an eyelash super glued to the end of a toothpick and using that to carefully agitate it and try and pick off bits of that. No.
But it wouldn't go. Okay, get off. Yeah.
No. But I've tried finding online a tardigrade that looks similar to mine, and I haven't found one. And I think the reason might be is I live right next to the ocean. I live in a small seaside town, so we've got very salty sea air.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Also, it's a terrestrial tardigrade. Being in a marine area with salty air, I think it might be a kind of like in between. I haven't found one yet, but looked them up online. They're very interesting, these marine ones. Some of them, we're not certain, but they have these little plug-like structures on the end of a long tail that they use to anchor themselves to the sea floor.
Just as a curiosity, is it possible for you to show us the 3D printed tardigrade that you made, the huge one?
Yes, one moment. I didn't design this. Someone designed it on Reddit. They showed it, and
just for the fun of it.
They had printed it really small. Yeah, they had printed a really small one of them. Oh well, they had printed a whole bunch of these small ones. I asked for the STL. They sent it. I immediately printed it as big as I could. It's a cute little tardigrade.
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, what I've been thinking of is, as a matter of fact, that's a little bit one of the projects that I have is somehow to do some photogrammetry. I don't know if this is possible with also with diatoms maybe, and then get them 3D printed so that you have at least some kind of a three-dimensional object that you can visualize much better. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting as well. So kind of convert a little bit the images under the microscope into three-dimensional models. But I think that's a little bit quite fancy. Yeah, in that way. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so that is yeah, quite interesting here. Do you have any? We just have a few minutes left, but do you have any maybe some yeah, at the end of the video some maybe some other interesting slides to show?
I'm gonna save the biological ones for another stream that we could do
Okay,
together,
yeah.
where we both show.
Okay, yes, great.
Keep things on topic there. I'm just looking right now for my video. I'm trying to find. I know I have it somewhere. There, I have a video of Tabitha, which is one of these not quite marine tardigrades. Question of wherever I can find it. I've got so many.
I see.
Here we have. That's a photo. What do we have in this scene? That's the logo. Let's remove that. Now I can stick photo up there. So you can see these long, sticky hairs that
yes,
they have.
yes.
This is the second one of these that I found in this moss. The first one is the one that got absolutely filthy, and I couldn't do anything to clean it. In fact, attempting to clean it just moved it around the dirt more and made more stick to it. So overall, it came out dirtier in the end. But
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. But you see the claws quite nicely.
Yeah, they have very big claws on these ones.
So that's the video that you made, right? Or
yes. Where is she? Ah, okay. So there she is behind that piece of dirt. That's when I first found her.
Yes. Ah, okay, yes. Yeah, I've found it also quite challenging sometimes to separate the tardigrades from the sediment, because they like to cling to objects, to algae, to little sand grains, and so on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the first couple of times I tried this, I found it quite difficult. After doing it a few times, I can now pretty easily pick up a single tardigrade within 1 to 2 tries. Which is what I'm doing right here. I zoomed out a bit so that I could get in, and there we're coming in with the
pipette. Yes.
In fact, speaking on that note, that's a perfect thing to show here. But let's pick her up first. Let's grab her, and then we put her down on a new dish to run around. Yes. Very cute little things. No matter what I've done, I have not managed to get her to feed. She is currently dried out on a slide. She's been there now for about, I don't know, a few months now, I think. And I'm going to try and wake her up at some point.
Okay. Adding a little bit of water and then see if it comes back to life.
Exactly, yeah. I don't see any reason why she shouldn't. So we'll see. But yeah, on the note there of actually picking these things up and manipulating them and moving around, I found it very difficult finding tardigrades in the first place by putting a single drop on a slide at a time, or even a few drops. So what I decided to do instead was I bought a whole pack of coin cases for coin collectors.
Ah, okay, yes.
You get 2 halves of these. They snap together. You put the coin inside. So a pack of 50 actually gives you 100 of these little dishes, and they're very short walled, which is what I was looking for, because everything else I tried kept crashing into the other objectives around it when I was trying to move around. But these work really well, but you can't put this directly onto a high-end scope because it will fall through the hole in the stage.
Yes.
So what I ended up doing is I designed and 3D printed a little holder for them. So it's actually got this ridge underneath. So this ridge will actually hold it in place. It tucks under the actual mechanical stage arm, and everything gets held in place. And this works perfectly. So what I do is I end up filling this entire thing with water from the sample, and then I can spend however long looking through it, sifting through all the dirt until I find a tardigrade, and then I can just pick up my micropipette and pick it off of this, which it's a lot easier than on a single slide.
Yes. So you basically it snaps into the how do you call it, the mechanical stage, and you can basically use the XY. Okay, exactly.
So that pops out. This pops in, and then this ridge here. In fact, you can see this really thin piece. This slides under the actual mechanical stage.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Put it in. These holes are meant so that you can easily get in there and pull it out. So you can put your fingers in and pull it straight up, so that when there's water on it, it's easier to take out. Because if you pop it up from underneath, it often pops up too quickly, and you
then you're spilling everything. Yeah. Okay.
So this works a lot better, and this ridge is slightly higher than this ridge. So if you're wanting to keep your sample under observations for a long period of time, like I've done, at night, after you've put some more water in there so that it doesn't dry up during the night, you can put a slide over it, and you can even leave a slight gap so that more air can get in if you want. I made a time-lapse video of the very first egg I found.
Okay.
And over a space of 3 days, I recorded this egg 24/7. At one point, I had to move it to a new slide and rinse it off because it got swarmed by bacteria.
Yes.
And out hatched a baby nematode.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
I think I called her Nina, if I remember correctly. Nina the nematode, something like that. I'll see if I can find the video to show it real quick.
Yeah.
It depends on where I saved that one. I've got such a mess of files right now when it comes to microscopy. I've got stuff all over the place. I found a project file. Where is the actual video file? No.
Well, if you can't find it, I think it's also fine, but...
Where are you at in terms of time? We've probably been going
we're
way
actually,
too long.
time is now slowly running out. Usually I stop at around 1.5 hours, and that's basically where we are right now.
Okay, well, in that case, I will go silent now, and if you want to do a quick outro and do the questions stuff.
Yeah, I got the questions here, but I found that actually I've responded to most of them already.
No, okay, perfect then.
So I think yeah.
That's
So
fine
there's there's actually nothing. Yeah, there's nothing that's I think most of them are responded to. Otherwise, if not, then I can always basically pick up on them later, or some maybe post the answers in the comments below. Yeah, and they're not always questions here, so it's basically some simply comments. Yeah, maybe I just want to show the slide box that I bought. That's basically a set of 10 medical slides, which we can also have a look at maybe in one of the upcoming streams here. But then again, I have to have a closer look first at them so that I'm actually able to say something meaningful about them. Because as it's right now, I do not, I mean, it says what it's supposed to show, but I'm not able to really give a lot of detailed information about this. Yeah. And even the manual that was included just gives just a general description, but not a lot of detailed information about the slides. Yeah. So, and that's something.
Whenever you're ready to do that one, if you let me know.
Yep.
If you want, I can join and we can both show bio slides, because I have a set here of mine aren't human though. Well, one of them is,
Yeah.
Most of them are animals, but can
Yeah.
also be interesting. So
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to, or we're going to call it a day today because it's quite late already where I am, and I would like to say a big thank you to you uh, for 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 having for having made this stream also possible. I think it's very very beautiful specimens that basically I would not have been able to show, of course. And
You're welcome, and thank you for
thank you
having me on.
very
It's
much.
been
Yes,
very fun.
yeah. And thank you very much, and maybe in the future again. And to all of the viewers, I wish happy holidays, and I hope to see you again. And I usually always say happy microbe hunting, everyone, and
Yay! Happy micro hunting.
and all the best, and bye bye. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye, world.
And Jess, thank you very much again. For this live stream. Thank you very
Again,
much.
thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye bye. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.